Okay, we are live. Hi, guys. Welcome to Happy and Wise. My name is Chris. I'm an EQ coach here to teach you common sense ways to understand your emotions better and get in touch with your consistent happiness.
I'm Sharon Hoffman. I'm here to guide you to your wisdom. Join me twice a week on Clubhouse and check out my Facebook page, but also my website, SharonHoffmanLiving.com. And Chris, where can people catch you?
ChrisNuth.com. Yeah, find the cheat codes to happiness and to understanding your emotions and how they can guide you in your life to whatever it is that you care about and you want to manifest for yourself.
Beautiful.
Sharon, it's the new year or almost here.
It sure is, Chris. I'm just curious. What are your thoughts about it? Or questions? Do you have questions? Do you have thoughts?
I I have a thing about the new year. I don't like making resolutions. I know that's a very popular thing to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like I just see the common pattern that I see with a lot of people who make resolutions is they set themselves up for something and they typically make it too strict or too formal or too like you can't budge with it, and then something, and then they're good for like maybe a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and inevitably something happens where they fall off of that or they can't meet their own threshold for what they set for themselves, and then the whole thing, they just throw the whole thing out the window and forget about it. And so
Right. Weight loss goals go up, gym memberships rise, all of that happens January 1.
isn't there a common, and I even heard this the other day, but I forget what it was called, but there's like a day, and I don't know if it's like the second Friday or whatever, but there's a day of like give up your New Year's Day or whatever. It was like
Let go of that. Let that go.
yeah.
All those expectations we put on ourselves, like we have a clean slate, we
Mhm.
have a new year, let's dig in anew. And, one of my favorite quotes, it's not attributed to anybody, it's sort of unknown, is every day is a new life to the wise one. And I love
Mm,
that because that means we get to start anew, fresh, any day, really any moment. And it's not just for New Year's.
that's right. Yeah, I love that, and in my mind, it's like, why try to? It's nice. I love goals, and I love setting dreams, and I love saying, "Oh, this is what I'd like my life to look like." But I think the approach we can use, if it's way softer,
Yeah.
can help us keep them, help us like hold on to them and do them more. So my mentality with anything that I want to do is how I'd like to incorporate this more into my life. And that way, if it's something just as
Right.
simple as that, if I miss a day, like I love meditating and it's something that's very important to me, and I do it most days, but I think the thing that keeps me doing it most days is the fact that I don't hound myself about it, and I if I miss a day, I miss a day, whatever, it's fine, it's not something that throws the whole thing out, because there is no whole thing. I just want to incorporate the how do I incorporate this into my life more? If I just keep things that simple, it allows me to be flexible about it, and if things change in the moment, today I did not meditate, I just didn't have time, and it's like, that's okay. Then tomorrow I'll meditate, but I don't lose all my progress, or feel failure or give up on something that I care about or that's important to me just because I missed a day or just because I didn't
Right.
hit the thing, right?
It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Right.
There's this gentler way. I like how you describe this gentler way of having a general idea of what we want to bring into our lives, but not being so regimented
Yeah.
that the first moment we don't do it for whatever reason, we just throw up our hands and give up on ourselves. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. Let's not
Yeah, and it
place
defeats the
pressure
purpose.
like
Like,
that.
ask yourself, what is the purpose of me wanting this New Year's resolution, right? It's to incorporate this thing into my life more. Like, that is what if the ultimate goal is to just do it more or experience it more or practice it more, whatever your goals are, wouldn't the most logical way to go be about it, do it in a way that's enjoyable, do it in a way that's flexible, do it in a way that you can manage it, do it in a way that gives yourself breathing room and space so that if you mess up or if you forget something or if you don't do it or if you run out of time, that it doesn't completely knock the legs out from under it, but it just is another. In fact, that's more what real to life. It's like, oh, some things happen, some days are different than other days, and so today I didn't work out like I thought I was going to do or do that, so I mean, I know people who have done like the 30-day yoga challenges or something, and then they get day 15 or 16, they miss one day and then they just throw everything out. They don't do it anymore. And what's the point if your goal is, if you want to do something, and you want it to be a larger part of your life or a consistent part of your life, maybe making it into structuring how you approach it in such a way where it's flexible and open will get you in the end way more of it than if you try to be too, like you said, regimented about it.
Yeah, because we have a lot of sayings that we adopt into our belief system. Sometimes it's good to question those belief systems. And one of them is to make a new habit, you have to do it consistently for, I hear different things, 21 days, 40 days, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're caught up in that mindset and you have an absolute belief in that, you think, oh, the first day I missed, I've screwed up my new habit formation. Forget it. So this
Hmm.
is where we can be really hard on ourselves. I kind of
Yeah.
think of it like when I was consulting in the corporate world, people would have performance reviews sometimes twice a year, other times once a year. And a lot of times people would be bracing for, what feedback am I going to be given? And it's similar to what we do to ourselves. Where's the critic in me that is going to
Hmm.
judging me for
Mm.
how much I embrace or don't these things. And
Right.
like I used to say to executives or people who are managing others, don't wait till the once or twice a year to give feedback. Be giving
Right.
feedback consistently and always lead with the positive feedback. Here's what you're doing right. Let's keep that going. What if we
Hmm.
did that to ourselves, Chris? Wouldn't that be a little bit of a different way? you know,
Yes.
let's focus on what we're doing right in our lives. That's a nice beginning, isn't it?
Yeah, and I love that advice because, and this is, I kind of like use this with, like, if I'm talking to someone too and I want to, mention something that could, I don't know, get them defensive or something, is start off with something positive or something supportive or something that you like or that you appreciate about them. And this way, then they'll be at least a little bit more receptive. But I love what you're saying about not being hard on yourself. I just heard something a couple days ago on a podcast from Gary Vee, who was like explaining um, how whenever you're attacking yourself or criticizing yourself or judging yourself for something, realize that that's not you.
Mhm.
That is something you picked up from someone else, and you've repeated it to yourself over and over and over again, and now you've adopted it. So that voice in your head is just something you heard someone else say somewhere in your world. Maybe it was someone important in your life, maybe it was someone that you worked with, or maybe it was someone whatever. But or maybe it was a societal thing that you've been hearing, but that is not your words. You picked that up from somewhere else, and now you're using it to attack yourself. And so, being kind and gentle with yourself, being who you truly are with yourself, which is loving, which is kind, which is joyful, which is relaxed, and which is supportive and encouraging. Do that with your New Year's resolutions too. Like, why not approach things that way? It will logically help you maintain them better, and make it more of like, instead of a fad or something that, or a trend that goes away after a month or 2 months, whatever. Make it like a lifestyle of whatever it is that you want. You obviously care about it. If you want to make it sort of more of a lifestyle thing where that's just what you do now because you enjoy it, going easy on yourself about it and not being so hard on yourself is a great
Well,
way to accomplish it.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something you said because I think it's a really key thing, a differentiator. A lot of us get caught up in the ego mind. That's our personality, our persona, whatever your reference point is for, the human form we're in. And there's a lot of mix of stuff in there. There is old programs that can involve judgment and criticism and blame
Mhm.
and belief systems that don't serve us. There's fear. There are many voices in there. But the core
Mhm.
essence, like you said, the core essence of who each of us is pure love. So it's as simple as any voice that goes on inside of us that is anything other than loving is not our core essence.
Yeah.
The more we attune to that truth within that core essence within us, the more we're living a life in alignment with everyone and everything, the more we
Mhm.
feel joy in our lives. And so before or during this inner critic rearing its head, just learn to appreciate the fact that you, any of us, gets to tell the difference, to differentiate between that voice and our most loving core essence self, and then decide, do I want to really give that voice that much attention in my life? Do I want to follow what that voice says, or do I want to return to this part of myself that's just love, peace, harmony?
Yeah.
Doesn't that feel better?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's such a good way to say it is distinguish between those two voices. And the way we do that, the easy way to do that is to pay attention to our feelings because our feelings tell us when we're aligned with ourselves and with our heart and when we are thinking thoughts that aren't ours that we picked up from somewhere else that don't really resonate with us that didn't come from our heart, that came from somewhere else, it'll feel different. And if it, and I like to just keep it very simple of like what feels good and what feels bad. But any
Can
good
you think of a
feeling
personal example, Chris, that you can share
of
about that? Of
a
where you
feeling,
caught yourself and you reoriented.
yeah, I used to say, or I used to think that I was lazy, or I used to think that, or I believed when other people would criticize other people for being lazy, I would think like, oh, that could be me too. And that is calling ourselves lazy is first of all, it feels shitty. So when you're doing it, like, oh, that's not again, it's not the real me saying that. That is so I picked that up somewhere. Someone else, because a lot of people who feel or think that way or talk about things like that, they picked it up from someone else and they picked it up from someone else. It's like these generational things sometimes. But but the way I recalibrated that or reframed it was to say that I think I may have mentioned this actually on the show before, but it's like that it's not laziness, it's purposely intentionally relaxing, and that's good for us. Like relaxing is something we all deserve. Relaxing is something that helps us. It's good for our mind, it's good for our body. And when I think about it like that, reframing it like that, that feels good. That feels like it's aligned with who I actually am. That's how I want to approach my life and go about my life. And so a simple thing, you feel the feeling, it's negative, you look at that wording that you're using and you say, what is something else I could think about? How can I think about this instead in a different way that feels better to me, that feels more in line with how my heart actually feels? And then find however you find that. Sometimes you could just come up with it yourself. Sometimes you watch live streams like this that we talk about it and you're like, and oh yeah, that's such a good point. I wasn't looking at it like that before. I kind of want to look at it like that. Or sometimes you just see them out in your daily life. Your friend says it, or you stumble on a podcast or music that talks about it or something. But I think that is something that will forever help us if we just keep trying to remember that and adjust as we go about this life.
Okay. So now I want to switch things up for a minute. For
Yeah.
people who want to remember all this and find some inspiration either in a piece of music, in a book, in a movie, does
Mm.
anything come to mind that you find inspiring?
The thing that I The thing that comes to me is something that Conan ended his show with, which each time he ended his show, both on the Tonight Show and on his TBS show, he wrapped up with a meaningful sentiment, something that really meant something to him. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact wording, but it was something like, "When you do what you love with people you love, life is like heaven on earth."
Mm.
And that is such a, like, distilled way of putting what we're talking about. It's like this message is out there and other people do, like, know about it and are speaking about it and are putting it in their art and are putting it in their shows and are putting it in their music. But that's something that was one of those, things that stuck with me as, like, that is he just summarized the key to life and is telling everybody, like, "Hey, that pay attention to this. There's something here." It works for him, and I'm telling it works for me. It
I
works
love it.
for
Yeah, and we're
anyone who
talking
yeah,
and you're talking about Conan O'Brien
yeah,
and the Conan O'Brien show where you were part of that family that he spoke of, right? The heaven
yeah.
on earth was including you, wasn't it?
I guess so, yeah, that's true, yeah,
Yeah. How
absolutely.
long did you work on his show, Chris?
7 years, 6.5 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
that's a really a beautiful quote. I mean, people everywhere say amazing things, and what's beautiful is when it's a touch point for us and we hold on to it, right?
Mhm. Sharon, do
So
you have I was gonna ask
one of the
you, yeah.
things I've been re-listening to this book that I just love on audio, and the author reads it, and it's Byron Katie and her book, A Mind at Home with Itself.
Mm,
And I find this book profound, both in her personal story of becoming a fully awakened being and the wisdom that moves through her that she shares simply by talking about her life and how people gravitate toward her. She didn't set out to teach people or write books, but she got named by the people around her as the lit lady because she radiated so much
mm,
love. And so people wanted to know, how do I get some of that? And so
mm,
she started this system of inquiry called the work. I find it very powerful. A lot of teachers, in terms of consciousness and spirituality, have some methods of inquiry where we can keep an open, questioning, curious mind. And
mm,
she is one of those beings. And so I find so much inspiration from listening. I like listening to her word.
mm.
Yeah.
Is there anything specifically that she said over the course of your or that she's put in a book or that you've done in your own work that was been sort of insightful and eye-opening for you that maybe you might want to, continue incorporating in 2025?
Yes, this most recent reading of this part of it, there were some words that really struck me,
Mm,
which were kind of one of the secrets to life is not wanting more things. There's a lot of talk about manifesting. How do you manifest what you want?
mhm,
And it's not a bad thing to have desires in our life, but sometimes when we keep wanting things, it comes from a feeling of lack. And if we
mm,
feel lack, we're not in a place really where we know that we have everything we need. So
mhm,
what she said is want what you have, be in a place of really appreciating everything you have, want what you have.
mm,
And I loved that because I noticed myself getting caught up in wanting things.
mm,
And it just brought me back to, I can let go of all that. I can
mhm.
let go of wanting and just move into loving everything I have.
Mm, I love that. It's almost
It's,
like that wanting is you're almost talking about it like it's like a yearning that like I'm missing this thing. I want this thing.
yes,
But I feel like I don't have it yet. I feel like I'm not there yet. I feel like it's not here yet. And
right.
so I'm in this state of perpetual like almost not negative anticipation, but sort of like a that lackful vibe of
Lack,
like
feeling a lack.
feeling a
Yeah.
lack. Yeah.
And I think that's where the art of manifesting is very tricky.
Yeah.
to stay in this feeling of I have plenty,
Yeah.
and then there's this desire, this heart's desire that I have, versus I don't have, and therefore I want to manifest. That's coming from a place of lack, as you just said. So this brought me back to remembering, oh yes, I have everything I need. Let me step into wanting exactly what I have, loving what I have.
Mhm.
And so yes, I want to bring that into 2025.
Ooh, I
Thank you
love
for
that. Let's
asking,
talk about why
Chris.
that works because I think that's worth spending a couple minutes on, which
Okay.
is when we think about what we have, when we appreciate what we have, when we love where we are, the things that are working, the things that we do have, the people we do love, the beauties in life that we can see around us. Uh, Anytime we're doing any of those things, we are putting ourselves in a good feeling headspace, a good vibe, whether that's appreciation or love or a sense of freedom or a sense of belonging or whatever that good feeling vibe is. And so when you float there long enough, you're going to get the kinds of ideas that can help you find the thing that that might not currently be here just yet, that you do want and that it's okay to
That's
want. Because
right. That's
our whole
right.
life is like constantly wanting more improvements and more more advancements and more cool people and more cool experiences and more cool things, and that's all great. Like you said, I think that's important too. Like we're here for a reason in the physical world. Like otherwise, we'd just be conscious spirits floating around in non-physical dimensions or something. But we're here to experience physical life and to uh, be around things physically and to have physical things. And so I think there's a beauty in that too. But I love what you're saying. There's this if we approach it differently and understand that, like you said, we have everything we need. And the way I kind of think about that is everything we want is just a series of ideas and inspirations away, right? Ideas about what to do, who to talk to, what to say, where to go, when to do things, what to research, what to try. And it's just a matter of do, listening to the universe when the time is right to do those things.
Well,
And
and I'll bring it back to something really simple, really mundane. Okay.
yeah.
So I was shopping in my town, and I walked into a store, and I had seen this coat, and I tried it on, and I instantly loved it. And it had a big price tag to go with it.
Mm,
And so then I didn't buy it because had a big price tag, and I didn't want to pay that money. But then I kept thinking about it, turning it over and over in my mind, like, oh, I'm fixating on this coat. Like, I really want
yeah.
this coat. I even had a conversation with a friend of mine who's really good at negotiating
Mm.
about how do I negotiate the price down. And then I thought, well, even if I get 25% off, which would be a big markdown, it would still be very expensive.
Mm.
And I thought, okay, there's a simpler way here.
Uh,
And so here's what I decided. I decided I wanted to stop wanting the coat. I
mm,
thought that would be a beautiful path. Let me
mm.
stop wanting that. There's nothing wrong with wanting it, but I
Yeah.
it didn't line up for me to spend that money on it. So I thought the simpler path, rather than
Yeah.
fixating on this and trying to figure out a negotiation, which isn't my comfort zone
Yeah.
really, and going down that whole road, all because I don't have the coat and I want the coat. Okay,
Right.
let me stop wanting the coat. And that became my practice. And I
Mm.
even stopped in the store and I tried on the coat again. And I was like, yeah, I can let this go. And
Mm.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
I
that
know.
worked for you, is that idea of like, yeah, there's something about the idea
Yeah.
when you stop, um, uh, I don't want to say caring so much, but there's a sense of like, it's okay. No matter what happens, it's okay. I'm going to be okay either way. Right.
It's
There's this,
just, does it serve me or not? Like if it's something that I really want, that's maybe something that's going to be in alignment with who I am, like what I'm doing in my work, or something
mm,
that really feels like it serves me. But I didn't feel like that was serving me to want that. I think that was
mm,
different. Difference for me was differentiating between what's a nice to have thing, another thing,
uh,
and what's something that's like from this deep desire in my heart, right?
mm.
That's a different thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's such an interesting topic too, because I've been thinking about this too. What is it that we want that is something our heart really wants? And what are things that we want that are kind of just either we think we want them because we're comparing ourselves to other people who have things, and you're like, oh, well, I want that too. And when it's not really an
Right.
authentic, I want this from my heart, it's kind of like you just see someone else enjoying their life and you're like, "Oh, well, then maybe I want that too," which
Mhm.
or if we want things that are like to fill some kind of void, right? Like people who want whether it's food or clothes or whatever, like shopping or whatever, not for the actual thing, not because their heart actually cares about all these things, but just because it makes them, I don't know, it fills some kind of gap that they're missing where they don't feel the love that they want to be feeling,
Well,
or
it's just
that.
this for me was just enjoyment. I like fashion, I like
Mm,
beautiful clothes, and I mean, if I just can bring it down to something really kind of simple, you know, but it didn't line up with my bank account, or how I wanted to
mhm.
spend my money. I mean, I guess I could have, but that didn't line up to want that coat so much and to spend all that money on it just didn't line up for me. And so,
And it wasn't making you feel good to every time you thought about the coat, it
right.
wasn't a feel-good feeling. It was a lackful feeling, right?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. I think that's why I decided to stop wanting it.
Yeah, and
Yes.
who
I
knows,
thank
maybe
you. You named it. Yeah, it was because what was fueling it was a feeling of lack.
yeah, yeah,
And anytime that's going on, the work is on the inside. It's not
yeah,
let me work harder to get that coat. It's the work is on the inside. Let me bring it back
yeah.
to knowing I have everything I need. Let me want what I have back to Byron
And
Katie.
Sharon, I think
And let
that's the
me
best
like
way to get the coat. Like, I do think that
I
is the
mean,
best way to get this coat, so I think this is a good strategy actually that you're
well, if
using.
I come back to you and tell you the coat came to me, that's gonna feel like a miracle to me.
I hope you're
And
wearing it the next time when it happens.
it's so funny. But yeah, I mean, especially this time of year, people can
Yeah,
get caught up in stuff, right?
yeah.
We're
Mm,
consumers, we're buying and receiving gifts. And so it's a good thing to think about, is it serving me to want all this stuff?
yeah,
Sometimes shedding stuff feels like a weightlessness that feels really good too. So it's
yeah,
that ultimate question of, am I coming from a place of knowing I have plenty, or am
yeah,
I feeling lack, right? And we all want that coming back to what you're talking about, the emotional state. We want to feel peaceful on the inside.
yeah,
And it's a way
yeah.
to bring ourselves peace. We don't have to wait, by the way, for whoever we wanted to be in office to be elected, or for that war over there to stop, or those hostages to be released. We don't have to wait for those things in order to feel peace on the inside. So I think that's another important message, because
Mhm,
I don't know about you, Chris, but I've heard a lot of people saying they're walking around anxious
mhm,
because of wars and elections and hostages and things, and they're feeling very uneasy on the inside.
mhm,
And it's easy to do that, to look outside at world events and make that our justification for feeling a lack of peace on the inside.
mhm. Yeah, and
But
there's real.
one doesn't equate the other. That's not our natural state is one of knowing we have everything. Everything's fine exactly the way it is. Even though that can sound crazy to you, if you look out at the world and you see so much discord and divisiveness, it can feel crazy to even hear me say that.
Mm,
But in a different reference point where we're all a larger consciousness and all this separateness is an illusion, we can come back to a feeling of oneness and
mm.
know that everything's okay.
Yeah, and remembering, like, the feelings that you feel, even if they are anxious or scared about things, those are valid feelings to have,
That's right.
but it doesn't mean that, that we can't feel differently, even if nothing else changes, even if,
That's right.
the world is the way it is, because there's so many
Yeah.
things we can't control,
Yeah,
and
let yourself feel it.
yeah,
Shout at the top of your lungs and then decide, do I want to let this go? Is it serving me to hold on to this? Because we get to decide ultimately how we want to
Yeah.
feel. We have energy and things moving through us, and we get
Yeah.
to decide where we focus our attention
Yeah.
outwardly, where we focus our attention on the inside, and really ultimately how we want to feel. So, yeah, it's the most natural thing in the world to feel upset at times around everything going on around us, whether it's personal or it's on a bigger scale. And
Mhm.
yet, it doesn't serve us to hold on to anxiety and tension. It doesn't help us shift those things at all.
Right. Right.
And so it's just a natural human response to those things, but now
Yeah.
we get to turn that around and say, "Well, okay, do I wanna let it go? Do I wanna drop into knowing I can accept everything exactly the way it is because everything ultimately is okay right here, right now?"
Yeah. And so to bring this back into 2025 and our New
Yes.
Year's theme, I'm curious. I have a question that I'm just posing out there for everybody who might be watching this, which is what do you want your 2025 to feel like? What do you want this year to feel like?
I love that question, Chris. I love it. Yes, because the feeling state is gonna drive everything.
Yeah.
So, Chris, if can I ask you that question? What comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I want it to feel, I mean, it's not a single thing. I want it to feel fun. I want to keep doing this. Like, I've been on a kick of following my fun for a long time. And I feel like every time I do, it has benefited me in some way. Not only does it feel great, but it's led me to some really cool people. It's led me to some really cool experiences. It continues to guide me in my life. It's a great way to make decisions, I've found, and I almost never regret it. I don't think I ever regret, because even if something goes wrong when I'm following my fun, it's like that. At least I'm in a good headspace a good headspace to best be able to deal with whatever comes up. But also, like, usually when things don't go our way, like, there's a reason behind it. Like, there's something I can learn from it, and so I like that guide of just fun. What is fun to me? What feels fun to me? And I mean that on very broad levels. Like what I'm doing here with you. This is fun to me. Like I love doing this. I love having these conversations. I love starting these live streams. I love going into your clubhouse rooms. Like I love that kind of thing.
Thank
So that's
you.
a broad fun. But then I also do this on a day to day, like breakfast today. I made French toast, even though I was kind of tight on time. But to me, that was the most fun breakfast I could think to make, even though it was a little bit more time consuming than throwing some yogurt in a bowl or something. And so I kind of use this on every level of my life, from the big scope to the micro decisions of like, what would be fun to me? And sometimes I'll directly ask myself that question of like, okay, here are my choices of what I could do. What would be most fun? And then I go with that. And it seems to really help. So I feel like 2025 to me, if I had to pick one thing, would be continue following the fun.
Okay, love it.
What is
This
yours,
is
Sharon?
you're fun. You know,
What what
the
what
first thing that
2025
came to
feeling do you
mind,
want to
yeah, the first
yeah.
thing when you said that was elated. I want to feel elated.
Mm.
2025, my year of feeling elated.
Ooh, I love that. That's a high vibe feel. Like
High
that's like
vibe, yeah.
that's very like high vibe. I love it. Elation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
That's
don't know where
excite.
that word came from. It's not a usual word for me, but there it
Oh,
is.
yeah. It's like it's right up there with excitement, enthusiasm, passion, like
Yes.
high vibe.
Inspiration, all of it.
I
Motivation,
love it.
all of
I
it.
love it. I love it.
Elation. Yeah.
So, whatever your word might be, or whatever your feeling might be, or it could be multiple, um, practice making that the intention. Practice asking yourself that question of like, how can I make my day more fun? How can I make my day more full of elation? How can I just being open to that vibe each day a little bit, or as often or as little as you want. But I think if we keep that stuff in mind of what we want our life to feel like, then we'll naturally and logically see more of it, interpret more things like that, be led to it, have it pop up in our lives, spot opportunities that allow us to find more of it, all of that stuff can come when it's active in our vibe, and that's what we're looking for. So ask yourself that question of what do you want your 2025 to feel like, and then really focus in on that feeling, and don't make it necessarily like a rigid, regimented, structured, I have to do XYZ activity. Let it be what allows this feeling in all its shapes and forms to be part of my life, and let everything that sort of matches that in, versus doing it the other way around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I want to remind everybody of something you said last time, which I think is so relevant to our conversation today, which is when you're tempted to be harsh toward yourself, soften the moment.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
It's never a bad thing. It's never a bad thing to soften
No,
the moment.
no.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think it's about time to wrap up. What do you think?
Yeah, what I love that. This has been really I think it's really helpful to, I mean for me it is anyway, to like sort of be thinking ahead sometimes about, how do I want to approach the future? And that sort of felt like what today was. It's like,
Yeah.
we're coming up on a new year. Tomorrow's New Year's Eve. A lot of changes happen in New Year's. A lot of people change their intention, or they think about what they want their life to look like more when the new year hits, and that's just a natural part of this time of the year. So I love having a conversation that was sort of based on what we're looking forward to and how to approach it in a way that can best help you get those things that you're looking for. So this was a really fun chat.
It really was, Chris. I want to thank you. I think just to encapsulate some of that, it's to want what you have.
Yeah.
It's to feel into how you want to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it's you dropping into fun. It's me feeling elated.
Yep.
But
Yep.
for everybody who's watching this, what do you want to feel in
Yeah.
2025? And it's letting go of that critic and recognizing that that's not the core essence. Anytime the critic rises up and wants to judge us,
Right.
it's really this other voice from within, and reorient to our beautiful, authentic truth, which is always loving.
Yeah, the critic is not you guys. It's somewhere else. It came from somewhere else.
That's
It's
right.
Someone said it beautifully, man, and I forget who it was, but they said that your baggage is not actually yours. It's something else that you're carrying from someone else. So when you're having that inner voice come in, again, like we talked about, know that that's not really you. It feels like you. It sounds like it's in your head. It's like it almost feels like it is in your voice, but it's not. Just know the feeling tells you that it's not. That you pick that up somewhere else, and it's okay. But just know you're looking to find a different way to talk to yourself and a different way to approach life, and align yourself with the loving, supportive, caring person that you actually are, with yourself, with other people, all of that. So, man, we hit some really cool topics today.
Yeah.
I think
And
it's a
if you
pretty
want to
well-rounded.
really get inspired, check out the ending of any of Conan O'Brien's shows,
That's
his
right.
words,
That's right.
and check out Byron Katie's book, A Mind at Home with Itself. Those are our thoughts for
Mm.
today. And
And check out Sharon's website, SharonHoffmanLiving.com.
thank you. Yes. And, if you go to my website, you can get a free gift. It's a 10-minute guided visualization by me to drop into your true self anytime you want with
Mm.
ease. So go there and scroll down on the homepage for your free gift. And please check out Chris Newth's website, chrisnewth.com, and sign up for his cheat codes, beautiful emails you get every day.
Yes, just emails that can help you if you're someone who's like, I really want to have more emotional intelligence. It's one of those things that's like people talk about that. It's been more of a thing more recently of like raising your EQ, like just having a higher understanding your emotions better, knowing what they mean, knowing how to use them to guide your life, and learning to use them to find more happiness consistently in your life and create the kind of life you want. Our emotions tell us everything we need to know. They're all we really need to use. Sharon and I have been talking about this all episode about like the importance of them, and notice the focus ease on the emotion. How do we want to feel in 2025? They're everything. So if you just learn simple, basic, common sense things about them, it can really help you change your life. It helped me change mine, helped me get rid of my anxiety and my panic attacks, and completely set me on a different trajectory. So if you sign up chrisnewth.com, free emails on how to do exactly what I did. So it's there if you want it.
Great. And join me twice a week on Clubhouse. It's a free audio only app for your smartphone. It's global. Beautiful crowd comes every time Chris drops in from time
Mm-hmm.
to time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on every Wednesday at 6 p.m. and every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. That's Pacific Standard Time. I'm tuning in today from beautiful Mill Valley in Northern California. And
Mm.
Chris, what about you?
In Spring Hill, Florida.
Okay.
So
Wonderful. It
yeah,
from across the United
sea
States
to shining sea, we got it
into
covered.
your home. Yeah. Whether you are on Chris's YouTube live or on my Facebook live, the replays, the video recordings will be on. So if you missed any part of this, check it out, invite your friends, follow us, and
Don't forget to
enjoy.
like and subscribe for
Yes,
sure.
please. And Chris, enjoy the end, and everybody, enjoy the end of 2024 and have a beautiful entry into 2025.
Yes. Oh, that's such a great. I don't want to add anything. That's perfect. Thank you, Sharon. This was great. I'll see you next time.